All right, so topic number one, we're going to talk about the 5 exits of an entrepreneur. And a lot of the entrepreneurs that we talk to fall into one of two categories. They are either an owner operator of their business or they have a business that is professionally managed. And we're going to talk about the 5 exits of an entrepreneur. So we're going to assume that majority of our viewers are in the owner operator seat of their business. So what that means is that they are a very strong, or they play a role in the business that if they are not there, usually things don't happen. So if you go on vacation, you get a dip in revenue. If you are out sick, you've got a dip in revenue coming down your pipeline, kind of thing. So it is where most entrepreneurs who are starting to think about retirement, exiting their business, that's usually where we find that they are starting at. So with that in mind, the very first exit for you, the entrepreneur, the business owner, is to exit the line. So this means that you are finding that right-hand man or a key employee that you are moving into the role of being a manager of the business, right? So might look like a general manager, it might look like a COO. There's lots of different titles you can give this person, but you as the owner, we want to move you out of being that technician or the doer or the deliverer in your business. And we want to get to where you are overseeing somebody else that steps into that role. So that's the very first exit that you will take as a business owner in preparing your business for sale. The second one, once you've completed the first exit, is you'll now exit the staff. So this means you're going from the manager of that key employee to now the CEO. So you're building a management team underneath you. So essentially, you've got some key positions and some key roles that are making decisions for the company. They are leading a team, most likely, and you become that CEO that's over the management pillar or the management level in your business. You still have direct reports, but you're not doing anything. And oftentimes, you're not directly leading and managing the team underneath each of those individual managers. So the third exit is going to be exiting the org chart. So this is where you move from a leadership position as that CEO into more of a governance position. So you are now sitting on the board of directors and you are helping to create the strategy, but not implementing the strategy. That is where your team steps in and does that, and you've backfilled your CEO role. So that's the third exit that most business owners will take as they're preparing to sell their business. The fourth, you're going to ultimately exit the board. So this is where you are shifting from that strategic guidance and creating the vision for the company to now just being an investor, which means you are receiving distributions or dividends based on your entity type, and you've passed the baton several times now in the business, and you are truly just an investor. So that fifth and final exit is going to be when you sell your shares of the business. And that's going to be your final exit of the business. Now, if you're listening and you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if my business that maybe you're doing 1 million or 2 million in revenue, and your net income is much lower, is that going to need you to do the 5 exits of ownership? Probably not. You're probably going to take a much smaller look at that, but it's important to understand all of the different exits that a business owner has that they will take over the lifetime of a business. Tracy, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you described it perfectly. I mean, I think it's stages, right? Exit is not just finite and you're doing it immediately tomorrow, but there's a transition process that has to occur in order to ensure that the next person who leads that company is just as successful in doing such as if you were leading that company. So I think that's
Mhm.
perfect in terms of how you highlighted the different like exits. We tend to think it's like one single exit and one big exit versus it's really a transition over time.
Yeah. And what you're doing here is you're taking your asset, which is your business, and when you are transferring the business from one person or entity to the next, right? You want to create a transfer that reduces risk, it reduces reliance on the owner. And you want to show that, hey, this asset is very valuable because it is built to do run on its own, right? You're going to get a much higher valuation when you have a business that is professionally managed and it's got it, the sales are coming in. There's a flywheel for the sales process. There's managers in place. There's structure to your operating activity in the business. These are all things that are going to make your asset, your business, more valuable. And the transfer is really going to be a much smoother one, which reduces the risk for the buyer, assuming that company. Because the last thing you want to do is pluck out the business owner and then everything just falls apart because it was all relying on the business owner. So it's important to look at which of these five exits make sense for my business and which of these five exits should I start working on now? And then what is my path? Which ones am I going to do? You might not have a board of directors. You might not be a passive shareholder, but you will definitely exit the line. You will definitely exit to being a manager to the CEO. And all of those different exit points are going to increase the valuation of your business, which means you're going to get more money when you go to sell it.
Well, and I think to your point, for the person who's buying the business too, they want to have the confidence that whatever they purchase from somebody is also not going to implode because it's all based on that individual who started the company, right? So when we go back to like legacy and we go back to like succession, the party that's purchasing that company also wants to have the confidence and the reduction in risk in terms of like reliance. So I think it's two ways, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. So there you have it. There are the five exits that business owners will take as they are preparing to sell their business.